2004's Fat Albert is a lot of things to a lot of people. For some, it's a lighthearted take on one of their favorite classic cartoons. For others, it's a strange entry in that weird time where every old cartoon seemed to be getting made into a live-action film. A lot of people are talking about how they feel about this movie and what they thought about it growing up, but no one's stopping to ask the question, how did it come to be?
I don't know. I know you don't know. I wasn't talking to you.
What caused the film to turn out like this? One of the more unique, albeit lesser liked, live-action cartoon adaptations. Well, sit back and relax as I tell you the complete history of Fat Albert 2004. In 2002, Fox officially started production on a Fat Albert movie. The original script was written by Charles Kipps and the creator of the original Fat Albert show, Bill Cosby. In early production, Omar Benson Miller was cast as Fat Albert himself, and Forrest Whitaker was supposed to be the director. However, due to some undisclosed creative differences, Cosby decided to call it quits, and in doing so, he effectively pulled the plug on the Fat Albert project. He would only allow the film's production to continue if they started with a clean slate. All they would keep was the original script. Fox obliged and brought on John Zwick to replace Forrest Whitaker. David Gordon Green lobbied to be the film's director not once, but twice, even writing letters to Cosby, but both times he was turned down. And he was none too happy about that, let me tell you. But while Green was angry, Zwick was delighted. He was a longtime fan of Fat Albert, and working on this film was a dream come true. He would be the one to bring some of his favorite characters to life. And it also helps that he liked the script that Cosby came up with as well. What was this script? Well, it was very close to the one that we saw in the final product. The movie would have two worlds, a live-action world and a cartoon world that would take place in another dimension. Every episode would be like a play. Whenever the show's on, the characters would convene, and then they would reenact the episode again and again and again. Things are going just fine in this cartoon world, until one day Fat Albert hears a girl in the real world named Doris crying, and he goes into the real world to solve her problems. The rest of the gang, except for Russell, come into the real world as well to stop Fat Albert and bring him back, until it's too late, they're stuck in the real world. So the rest of the film is about them trying to solve Doris's problem, Fat Albert falling in love, and the gang being awestruck with the technology of the modern day. Zwick described the plot as a Pinocchio story, where each of the boys would come out of the TV, find something in the modern day that they would connect to, and would become more like real people. Cosby loved this approach and decided to give Zwick the job. And then, he did something that would surprise everybody. He told Zwick that this was his movie. He was gonna have very little involvement, and he would let Zwick use his judgment when it came to making changes to the script. Not only was everyone surprised by this, they were in disbelief. And I mean disbelief, as in nobody trusted his word whatsoever. Bill Cosby is a notorious control freak, right up there with Milton Berle and John Should Be Behind Bars Chris Felici. The crew had a feeling that as soon as Cosby caught wind of something he didn't like, he would burst onto the set and cause a lot of problems. But no, that didn't happen. Cosby didn't intervene once. Part of that was because Cosby trusted Zwick, and the other part is because Zwick agreed to Cosby's 3 requirements for the film. 1. It had to stay true to the original show. 2. He wanted a scene where he spoke to Fat Albert. And 3. When he met Fat Albert, he wanted Fat Albert to take one look at him and go,
I'm looking for Mr. Cosby. You his dad?
And while Zwick agreed to stay true to the nature of Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, he decided to take some creative liberties when it came to the characters. 3 in particular. One is very minor, and that's Old Weird Harold. Now, in the show, he was just called Weird Harold, but the old was added to match the character's name in Bill Cosby's original stand-ups. As for the other 2 characters, their changes would be a bit more drastic. In the original script, Mushmouth's dialogue was written out normally, and it was up to the actor to implement his iconic speech impediment. However, with Zwick's vision, Old Weird Harold would be the only one who could understand Mushmouth, meaning that the actor who would go on to play him would have to make the dialogue as incomprehensible as possible. But the original dialogue was still kept in the script, so the actor could have at least some guess to what he's supposed to say. And then the final major change came with Bucky. See, Bucky had no personality whatsoever in the original show. Like, at all, to the point where he had 0 starring roles throughout all 100 plus episodes. But here, Bucky was made to be the team weirdo. Whenever a scene needed some comedy, or the crew felt like there needed to be some craziness, they called on Bucky to fill that role. It didn't really fit with the original character, but to be fair, nothing did, so it was okay. With a concrete vision and a firmer script in place, it was time to start the auditions, and there was a lot of turnout. Black actors from Hollywood came in droves to be a part of this film. And in the end, they got their first choice for every role. They were especially excited by Kenan Thompson, who played Fat Albert, and Caleb Pratt, who played Doris. And so was Cosby. He was especially happy with Kenan Thompson. Apparently, as soon as he saw Kenan's demo reel, he told the crew to hire him on the spot. As for Caleb Pratt, she'd previously worked with Zwick on the Dr. Dolittle movies, so it paid to know someone on the inside. Right away, the cast began to bond. It was immediate. They laughed with each other, joked with each other, had improv sessions in character, and all around had a great time from beginning to end. In fact, some of their joking sessions made it into the final product. We're not sure which ones exactly, but according to Zwick, when he saw some of the actors messing around in character, he'd point to them and say, "Okay, that works, let's see it on screen." Everybody was amazed with just how much energy the cast seemed to have. No matter how long they worked or how many times they went through a scene, they were on their marks every time. In fact, they were so good at what they did that the most amount of takes that it ever took to complete one scene was 3. And more often than not, they'd go with the first take. Additionally, they'd also sometimes go with takes that weren't takes at all. Zwick would have the actors rehearse in costume on camera, but he wouldn't tell them that the camera was secretly rolling. So when they did something that stood out from all the other takes, they would use the rehearsal footage instead. Also, everybody did their own stunts. Ooh. The cast immediately shot down any offers of stunt doubles and insisted on doing everything on their own, for better or worse. While everybody was having a great time, there was one person who was running into a fair bit of issues, and that was the film star, Kenan Thompson. First of all, before he got the role of Fat Albert, Thompson had lost 20 pounds, meaning that part of his costume would have to be a very uncomfortable fat suit. This thing was heavy, cumbersome, and difficult to get on. In fact, they would only let Thompson use the bathroom during lunch because the fat suit was so difficult to put on and take off. Not only that, but Thompson was burning up in the fat suit as well. To combat this, the crew rented a giant refrigeration truck for him to sit in whenever he needed a break. However, because he was so popular, the rest of the cast would want to hang out in Thompson's refrigeration truck, meaning that all the excess body heat would cancel out the refrigeration, making the thing a giant sweat box. And to top it all off, Kenan Thompson got basically no sleep. See, he was on Saturday Night Live at the time, and they wouldn't give him up to shoot for Fat Albert. So here's what he did. Every Wednesday, he would get on a plane, fly to New York, perform the episode, then get back on the plane, and sleep. And I don't just mean sleep on the ride over to Los Angeles, I mean he would sleep in the tarmac and they would keep it there for as long as he needed. What a life, right? Kenan Thompson was tired, he was sweaty, he had to go to the bathroom, but through it all, he smiled and had a great time. He was among friends and he was part of a project he believed in. See, as the film's production went on, it started to develop a mission statement of sorts. It's that the honesty and sweetness of the original show was growing more distant in the current day, so they wanted to bring it back with a movie about family and friendly togetherness. It also felt great having a bunch of Fat Albert fans making a Fat Albert movie. They made an effort to throw in references to the show that only true fans would get. For example, there would be references to some of the animation cycles that Filmation would often reuse in the Fat Albert episodes. For example, in the party scene where Fat Albert's about to sing his song, Old Weird Harold does the motion that's often seen in his laughing and or cheering animation from the show. The group also walks in a giant clump, much like they do on the original show, and my personal favorite, Fat Albert's singing and speaking voices don't match.
We just got here a little early. We didn't want to miss going to school with you.
I'm gonna sing a song for you.
only this time it's Kenan Thompson doing both parts, instead of having two different actors. As the first version of the film was done, the closest thing to a problem on set that they ran into was the scene between Fat Albert and Bill Cosby. When Cosby was acting the scene out, he realized that he didn't like the way that he wrote it, so he and Kenan Thompson improvised the entire scene in order to make it work. Now that's what I call dedication. When the film entered its testing phase, it scored really well. Some of the potential concerns they saw, like the party scene, especially the song, going on for too long, weren't an issue. They were also delighted to see that the older audience members were connecting to the film even more than the younger ones. They were the people that grew up with Fat Albert after all, and the fact that these people were getting emotional after seeing these characters again for the first time in years, to them, it was official. They did the series right. But there was one problem that the audience seemed to have. They were having a hard time following the story. I bet that sounds kind of weird. Fat Albert, of all things, has a story that's too hard to follow? Well, in the original cut of the film, yeah, that was the case. It wasn't clear enough that Doris had a problem, nor was it clear enough that she had a previous connection with Fat Albert. So the crew got right to work, adding in new scenes and refilming old ones with a brand new storyline to tie the whole plot together.
I finally understand why I had to come out here.
That being that Fat Albert is based on Doris's grandfather, who passed away not too long ago. Doris was really close with him, so after he passed, she shut down. So now it's up to Fat Albert to help her find her old self once again. Once this was added, the film was ready to be released. It was Hey 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 on Christmas Day, and the film opened to not great results. It wasn't making nearly as much money as they'd hoped.
Holy cow.
And the critical reception was not exactly bad, but it was far from high praise. The general consensus was that, yes, the film had its heart in the right place and it was a charming experience overall, but it was too slow and too basic to keep people's attention. The film grossed $46.6 million against a $45 million budget, thereby making it a box office flop. Now I'll bet some of you out there are going,
"What are you talking about? It made more than its budget. That's not a bomb, that's breaking even."
actually, no. Generally, a film has to make 1.5 times its budget in order to break even. This is because of extra costs that come after the film is done, like merchandise or running ads. And because Fat Albert's marketing campaign was everywhere, it's safe to say that it was very pricey, so the $46.6 million wouldn't really be enough to recuperate the loss. Originally, a sequel was considered, but because the film bombed, the door kinda closed on that one. And then that was the end of Fat Albert as a whole. There's been no major project involving the franchise since, and given its creators', troubled recent events, it's safe to say that we're probably not gonna get another Fat Albert anything for quite some time. But now, I hope you understand Fat Albert 2004 a little bit better. The film was all about happiness and fun, whether it be on screen or on the set. And you know what? A lot of other films these days could take a page out of Fat Albert's book, because I agree with the crew. It's high time we see some of that love and positivity these days, and if we do, the spirit of Fat Albert 2004 just might be able to live on. And really, what's wrong with that? Well folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? What have you learned about Fat Albert 2004? And of course, what did you think about the movie? I myself say, while it's not the greatest thing out there, I'll always have a soft spot for it. It's so happy, it's so fun. You can see all the camaraderie that the cast had come onto the screen. And yeah, there's some childhood bias there too, so yeah. Anyways, comment below and let me know, because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. And now it's time to thank our wonderful Patreon people, starting with our Masters of Fate. Chan 11, Drew the Stew, Kev Messick, Manny Paredes, MD the Dude, Ryan Williams, and Woody Woo. And now our executive producers, Aaron Vasquez, Albert Robinson, Blackjack, HR Hoffman, Indiscreet One, Ravioli Supremo, Unkale, and who else but Zane.
I did not miss this at all.
If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then why not donate to the Patreon? We've got a link in the description below for you to check out. Down there, we've also got a link to the Media Mementos Discord server. Why not pop in and say hello? Alright, folks. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time. So you be good, okay? Hey, hey, hey!